Paige's biological father had abandoned her and her mother when she was just a baby, but she never imagined that history would repeat itself. The day Paige married Adam was the happiest of her life. The two had met on their first day of grade school at the age of 5 and had gone from being best friends to falling in love to being soulmates. Paige never imagined there would ever be a day that she didn't want to be with Adam or he with her. She never imagined she would be standing alone on a curb with a baby in her arms, in the depths of winter with Adam's screams of hate echoing in her ears. Paige stood there, her baby girl wrapped in her blanket, hunching her shoulders against the wind, and then something extraordinary happened. A car pulled up next to her, and the window opened. The driver leaned forward in his seat. "This is no night to be out with such a tiny baby. Please, let me take you somewhere where you'll be safe. Do you have family nearby?" he asked. Paige bit her lips. There was something about this man that was familiar. She'd seen his face before. He might be a stalker, a criminal. She might be putting her baby in danger. The man could see the doubts flitting across Paige's face. "Please, I mean you and your baby no harm. If you'll let me help you, I'll explain everything." Reluctantly, Paige settled her baby in the back seat. "You have a baby seat," she commended to the man. "Do you have children?" "No," the man said. "I have a nephew." "Oh," Paige said softly, "I have no one. My mom died 7 years ago. Then my dad got cancer." "That's not easy," the man said gently. "Losing everyone like that. The worst was that my dad told me when he was dying that he wasn't my biological father. My mom was pregnant when he met her. Her lousy boyfriend just ran out on her, so my dad adopted me. He wanted me to look for that man, but I refused. Look for someone who didn't want me. Never. I thought Adam and I were going to build a family, but I guess that's another thing I failed at." "Your marriage," the man asked. "What happened?" "We met when we were so young," Paige said. "We were so in love, but then, when I got pregnant, Adam changed. It was like I repulsed him. He stopped looking at me, touching me. Then he started coming home late, drinking a lot. Tonight was the worst yet. He told me he hated me, that I disgusted him, that he never wanted to see either of us again. I guess I got my mom's luck, huh?" The man stopped in front of a brightly lit house. "Paige," he said quietly, "you trusted me so far. Will you trust me a little longer?" How do you know my name?" Paige gasped. "I never told you my name." The man got out of the car and unstrapped the baby. Paige jumped out and followed him up to the door of the house. The man rang the bell, and another man opened the door. He looked almost exactly like the driver, only a few decades older, but his eyes were different. They were an unusual, luminous aquamarine blue. Paige knew those eyes. They stared back at her from her mirror each morning. "You," Paige whispered, "you're my father." "Yes," the man said in a deep, soft voice. "I am. Coming out of the cold, Paige, it's time you learn that you still have a family." Paige walked in and took her child from the other man's arms. "I suppose you're my brother?" she asked. He nodded and smiled. "Yes," he said, "I'm Blake, and you're my big sister." Paige sat down and looked up at the man who called himself her father. "So you're here just in time to watch a little bit of history repeating?" she asked bitterly. "No, Paige," her father said. "I'm here to try and make a great wrong right. When your mom fell pregnant, I was just 16. She was 2 years older. It doesn't sound like much of a difference, but I was a scared kid. I ran out on her, Paige, and I'm not proud of it. Years later, when Blake was born, I realized what I had done. I found your mom, and I saw that she was happy, that your dad was a great guy, and that you were happy, so I walked away." Paige's father shook his head. "I never imagined that within 2 years you'd lose them both. I never imagined my own daughter would be abandoned with a newborn in her arms." Paige bowed her head and felt hot tears burn her cheeks. Her father sat down next to her and put his arm around Paige and the baby. "Paige, please let me make it up to you. I wasn't much of a father back then, but maybe I can be the father you need right now." Paige's father explained that he had hired a detective to find out about Paige's life after she lost her parents and was horrified to discover that her husband drank and had boasted to his friends that he was kicking her out. After that, Blake had started following Adam home from the bar each night and parking outside the house to make sure that Paige was safe. Luckily, he'd been there when Paige needed him the most. Since Paige's dad was an influential man with plenty of money, he hired a lawyer to take care of Paige's divorce. He offered Paige and her daughter a home with him, and as they got to know each other, she grew to love this man who was her father.